All right. Thank you so much for joining us at MAGWest Isn't. My name is sometimes V. You may catch me as the guest, the West guest head for booking guests for MAGWest, but also on other days that I am also a podcast host for Lady Blurds Sing the Blues. So today I have a special guest with me. Her name is Danielle McRae. She is a wonderful voice actor based out in LA. So she has done just so many projects. Like I checked out your IMDb, and you just have such a huge repertoire, such as League of Legends, World of Warcraft, Skullgirls, Monster Prom, and honestly, my personal favorite, Final Fantasy VII. So thank you for
Yes.
joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So real quick, can you actually just start off with just telling me a little bit about yourself?
Growing up, I was a huge fan of cartoons. And when I was younger, a lot of my friends would be like, oh, those characters, those are their actual voices. And I actually thought there's people behind those characters. And so for a while, I thought voice acting was called voice changing just because you can change your voice up. And I was like 7 or 8 years old when I thought about this. And I thought that there would be 5 or 6 people in a garage recording on one mic, and then there'd be another guy behind the glass. He does the directing, the casting, the editing, like all the stuff. And it's like, oh, that's a lot of work now that I think about it. And it was kind of a Mythbusters thing. Like I kind of wanted to be like, is this how this really works? But I also was like mystified by the whole process of voice acting. So I told my mom when I was younger, I want to do this voice changing thing. I want to try this out. And she's like, that's cute, but I don't think that's a job. You could do it for fun, but I don't think you can actually make money off of it. And so my second dream job was character design for computer animation. I wanted to work at the time for Squaresoft to do character designs and different monster designs and stuff like that. And so fast forward to college, I'm taking a couple of computer animation classes, and I just kind of fall out because my ADD. It's just like I can't do this. I can't do the modeling or any of that. So I go to my counselor and I'm like, I think I want to change to theater, because a friend of mine who was in theater, he kind of got me kind of hooked to the theater bug. And I started taking improv and on stage. And back then I was a really shy person. Like I was super shy. And so he told me, if you want to do this voice acting thing, you need to take a lot of theater, because if you understand how to act, then the voice will come naturally. It'll kind of just speak to you as you know who the character is and how to
Mhm.
act out that character. And so a couple of years later, a friend of mine dared me for a $300 dare to take this voiceover workshop at Bank Zoom in LA, because they were holding workshops for voice actors who wanted, well, people who wanted to become professional voice actors. So I spent $300 on a dare, and it was about like a 6 hour, like long course, and it was a lot of fun. And they had a beginner, intermediate, and a master class. And I took the beginner class, and near the end of that class, a few of my friends got called up from the director. And I found out that the person who was teaching this class was actually a casting director for shows and games. And so when he called people up, I'm like, they just got the golden ticket, didn't they? They just actually get to work with these people. And then I got stubborn. I'm like, I'm going to come back another year, because like $200 is like a lot of money back then. And I spent
Mhm.
that money on an intermediate class. We learned how to do like Western animation, how to record for that, and create our own characters. So it was kind of like a good D&D session for me. So I played a lot of that growing up. Um, and near the end of that class, the director who called some of my friends at the last class called me up first, and he said that, you've learned a lot since your first class. I think you're ready to work. I can't promise you anything, but I can give you this card, this number. You can go call us or email us and uh, see if we're interested in having you in for some auditions. And so they brought me in for a general audition, Bang Zoom, and we did a lot of different character voices and stuff that was already released, like anime and stuff like that. And uh, then after that, about a couple months later, I got booked in League of Legends after auditioning for it for a few times. And then a month later, this is when it starts getting crazy. A month later, World of Warcraft happens. I'm like, wait a minute, this is not right. And then a month after that, on Halloween, I booked Skullgirls, and I'm like, okay, this is not good. This is good, but this is not like realistically good. Because like when I had friends who first started out in this profession, they had to wait so many years to get their big break, and for me it was like back to back to back, and I'm like, this isn't normal. But that's kind of how I got
The
started.
stars were just the lining for you, like during that
Right.
time, like because
Yeah.
like you said, it takes a few auditions before a rhythm starts going. So like that
Mhm.
was like, okay, there's the rhythm. Let me go ahead and ride this wave. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's amazing.
It was definitely a journey, and it's still going.
Yeah, I want to actually go back to like the just a couple of things real quick. Um, yeah, I feel like with college and doing things for school and like when you first start something that it's always okay to change your path or try to find something that actually rolls with you a little bit better. For example, like I did music and I did performance, but I'm like maybe I might want to be an educator, so I switched to being into education instead because of the money aspect of it, right? So
Mhm.
everyone's like, oh, you don't know if you can make some money full time, and that's always going to be the artist like
Mm.
conflict within the mind.
Yes,
So
the
what?
starving artist kind of mentality.
Yeah, exactly. So not making money for art, but you still persevered. I want to just kind of get your insight on like what was the ongoing motivation for you to actually just make that change and say, all right, this is where I'm going to stay.
So this was before I booked League of Legends. This is when I was like that happy, aspiring voice actor, and I'm like, I'm gonna book all these games and all this stuff. And thinking back, it's like, damn, I was really like, it was a persistence because I did a lot of auditions back then, and still now, like, there's a lot of rejection in this industry. You'll get rejected, and then sometimes when you first start out, you'll wonder, is it me? Do they not like me? It's just, it isn't you per se. It's what the casting director might not have been looking for. So I, for me, it was hard for me to like not take it personally, as if like the director was taking a jab to me if I didn't get a role. It just meant that I just wasn't giving them what they wanted character wise. So when I first started out, like I didn't book my first role for like a few months, and I was already kind of down a dump. So I'm like, I've auditioned for like 100 soap projects. I'm not gonna book anything. And a good friend and colleague of mine was telling me, you know, if you quit now, you never know if you're gonna book something if you're about to quit. So you should
Yeah.
keep going at it. You might book something and you might surprise yourself.
Yeah, this is a huge lesson in anything that anybody's motivated about. Like it's with this, I remember reading a tweet that you wrote a while back ago that you were like, you're gonna receive a lot of rejections before you get that one role. And just
Yeah.
remember, you have to keep going. You have to keep making submissions. Like, who cares if they said no? At least you got a response, you know?
Right. Yeah.
It's like,
And that's kind of a rare thing because they rarely ever respond until you didn't get something. But um, it's just good to, I know it's hard. It's easier said than done, but it's good to, you have to be persistent and you have to do it for the passion, the fame and the money. I don't really think about that. I have fun doing it. If you have fun doing this, then it's going to show, and the directors are going to see that, and they're going to probably want to book you and hire you and work with you and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's all about persistence.
persistent, having good attitude, like you said, making connections so then that way someone can lead you like, hey, this may have not worked out, but try this side,
Oh,
try this new audition, speak to this person. Like it's also like making sure you keep those nice connections solid too.
yeah.
Um, so can you tell me, so I first learned about you. I know I told you this over the phone a while back ago, but I first learned about you when you were at a League of Legends convention as one of their guests.
Yes.
How many times have you been asked to do conventions based off of the roles that you've had? So, for example, League of Legends, there was a League of Legends convention. Have you done anything for WoW? Is there anything that you've been more involved with the character more than just the voice acting, if that makes sense?
Oh no, I get you. So the League of Legends convention, that was I was an honor to be asked to go to something like that because at that time I was playing a lot of League, like 2 months League. I was watching the world competitions at that time, and I was really like knee deep in League. And then when this convention comes up and says, "Hey, do you want to come to our con and meet some of the voice actors?" Because when we work in the booth, we don't work together, the voice actors. So
Mm-hmm.
it was great meeting everybody who went to this show. Um, there is a character named Nocturne. He's one of my best friends. His name is Jason Wishnov. It was great to, I always see him though, but there were people like, gosh, there was Adam Harrington and Melissa Hutchinson. Like I never see them because they're up in the Bay Area. So it was great to see and meet them and just hang out with them. I've done stuff like for Anime Expo, we had a lot of Skullgirls events, and we would even have like a Skullgirls day, and that was cool. But that doesn't really happen very often where I'll be invited to an event from a character I've done in a certain game. It will just be like, hey, come here because we want to talk to you and you're awesome and we want to have fun. And I'm like, hey, let's go party.
It's probably like the only time you actually get to meet your coworkers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because like you said, like always acting very. Say that again. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's like a big sleepover. You just kind of hang out, but you don't go to sleep. You just kind of hang out. Or it's like recess. No, it's like recess. This is much better. This is like recess. Not that was the other weird. That was weird. But it's like recess.
Well, I mean, let's be real. Conventions can be a huge sleepover. It's just like it's whether if you have a room. I've been to enough conventions where like I wasn't a guest, I was a guest, I was an attendee because I'm still in the kind of fan-based side of things, and so I would go to like for example Fanime, and like I would just run into the same person all the time, whether it's the same restaurant, the same panel, the same art gallery, and like you would see them maybe at 2 a.m. because you're still up, like you're still up trying to find shenanigans to get into. So like we're all in this together. We're all not getting sleep. I do want to remind all con goers that it's still important to shower.
Yes.
It doesn't matter how much fun you have, you got to take the time to take care of yourself. But yeah, like it is kind of like a huge sleepover party. Sometimes there are pajamas and onesies that happen during the convention. So yes, you're fine.
Yeah. Okay, nice.
So I want to kind of take a little bit at you about Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII is one of those games that's been super popular. 1997, like people were still playing it like 10 years past the fact. Like I didn't get into it until 2002. And so everyone kind of centers their whole like feelings around this game because of like how a lot of the themes kind of impact today. Like there's a lot of capitalism that like bleeds into like neighborhoods that deserve more support. Also the characters are loving. Like we all love Barrett, we all love Tifa. Sometimes we love Cloud.
Yeah, sometimes we love Cloud. Yeah.
Sometimes we love Cloud. But it was so refreshing to see how they kind of revamped things in the remake, that they added more characters, they added more side quests to kind of get more involved and immersed in the game instead of just kind of doing the replay of the original. So what was that experience like for you to be, I believe her name was it Grace? Can you please correct me?
Oh, that's okay. So her name was Gwen.
Gwen, thank you.
Yeah, it was, the whole process was very magical because when this goes back to when the first trailer came out for FF7, when it was like when they first said the remake and everything, I'm like, oh, they're actually remaking this game. And so around that time I was trying to figure out which studio was going to be working on this, because I was like, I really want to be in this game, but I don't want to seem like I'm desperate. I don't want it to seem like go to a studio and be like, please hire me for this game. I didn't want to be like that. So I would send out cold submissions and ask, if this studio is asking if they need new talent for upcoming games or projects or something like that. And there's a studio that I kind of had my eye on because they had a history of working on a lot of Final Fantasy games, and I kind of came to them and I pretty much asked them, I don't know if you're working on FF7 Remake, but if you are, I would love to audition. So I kind of like, it's hard to explain, but what I did was I kind of fangirled out a little bit with them. And at that time I regretted it. And I'm like, oh, this is horrible. And so about I think it was 2-3 years later, they get back to me and replying from that same email I sent them years ago. And they're like, hey, we are casting for this big AAA union video game, and it's coming out hopefully this year, maybe next year. Are you free to come in this day from this hour to this hour? And I said, sure. And so I come the day I come in to record, they don't usually tell you anything, especially if it's something that's like as big as Final Fantasy. A lot of times they'll code name it, so they'll put a code name to it, and you really won't know what you're recording for. So I go into the booth, I meet the director, and then he kind of tells me what I'm doing, and he shows me pictures of the character that I'm recording for, and I'm like, oh, she looks really cool, but they still didn't tell me what the game was until I went into the actual booth to prep my mic and like get the script out. And they were saying, oh, by the way, you're recording for FF7. Congratulations. And I'm like, wait, what? And the thing was, I didn't audition for this. They just kind of brought me in. And so I kind of cried a little bit after I did my paperwork and just did all the signing after the session. I went to the bathroom, cried for half an hour. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I did that. And I was like, I did that. Like, I did that. Like, I love this game. I played this game so much when I was younger. And to be a part of it, like, making it full circle, it's like, I did that. That's crazy.
Oh my gosh, you did that. Exactly. Like, that's exactly it. I would probably have been in the same position as you if you got that position. You're like, oh, I'm gonna cry, because that's a big deal. And I'm gonna go. I'm asking you about a couple of terms, but I just want to say again, like, congratulations for even getting into that position and getting that role. Also, a big thing for me is like it's the amount of diversity that they have represented in that game. Like, there were so many Black women that they just showcased in the game. Like, whether if they were NPC or not, like sure, like Barrett was always kind of representative of Black men in that game, but like having like another Black woman in that game, just even if it was only spending like maybe 2 hours of your life for the side quest,
right.
It's still nice to see that there was so many different aspects of the game, like the kids, the orphanage, from like just running into all the NPCs in Wall Market. So it was great. So again, congratulations for that.
Thank
and I
you
hope
so
like
much.
obviously like it will open up more windows for you, or doors for you, excuse me, windows.
Windows too. Hey, that's possible.
Windows too. So you mentioned something about a big AAA game. What does that mean? Is there like different levels for different voice casting opportunities, or?
So a lot of times, I think a few games that I got cast in, they would mention a big AAA game that you're working on, and the only games I got that for was World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy VII. But a lot of times, if it's for like an audition or a casting, they'll be like, "Hey, we're looking for these actors for this upcoming game." Like, they'll always say "upcoming game." They don't really say big AAA game, because I don't know. Maybe they think that maybe we're onto something, because a lot of voice actors I know they play video games, and maybe they think if we use it too much, they're gonna try and find out. It's like, uh-oh. But a lot of times they just say it's a we're looking for someone to record or audition for this upcoming game. But yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I'm like, are there tiers? Like, I figured like AAA would make sense to me. It's like, okay, it's a big game. Maybe we're not supposed to say anything until it's released, blah blah blah. And then everybody else, like, that wasn't as tier. Maybe are just like, look, I'm making a game. Can you please voice act?
Pretty much, yeah. That's pretty much how it is. When like the majority of the time, it's like, can you please voice act for our game? And they won't say what tier it's on. And it's like, okay, yeah, it's
okay.
it's a happy adventure.
So that's really funny. So I think, what would you give? And this is just a question I kind of built up in my whole roster here. What would you say? If someone is like, I like kind of struggling, like, I don't know if I want to go into voice acting, but I really want to try to voice act, but I just don't know how to get started. Like, what is some advice or like equipment advice that you would give for somebody who's just starting and trying to dip their toes into it?
For me, when I first started, I would listen to a lot of voiceover people who are already working, like Tara Strong and Jennifer Hale, just for examples. I listen to their demo reels. I would go on YouTube and watch a lot of their voice clips. And well, at that time, I was taking theater, so I would recommend. Well, right now we're in the pandemic, so it's going to be hard to really do any of that. But I would recommend, probably what I did a long time ago was I would do something like play Final Fantasy 7 or 8, and of course there was no voices in there, so I would just kind of voice act and play every character, even Barrett. and just kind of make a character from there. And I would do that, listen to actors. I would also suggest observing people and just in public. It's gonna make it, look kind of like a creeper, but you're promise me it's gonna help. Because you can study people's mannerisms, like the way they walk, just like everything about that person. It'll help you character build. So if you're really looking into doing this, I would say observing is key. Persistence is also key. Also, just kind of reading off a newspaper or reading off of like an article on Twitter or something like that. Just reading it out loud. For a while, it's gonna get weird hearing your voice, and it's hard to get used to that at first, but the more you hear it, the more you're going to be like, okay, this is what I sound like. So definitely persistence and practice, and tongue twisters also help too. But yes. It's a lot of loaded information.
Sally sells seashells on the seashore. Oh, I did it. Okay.
Yay!
Sorry, tongue twisters get me. Like something about the Irish wristwatch gets me a lot. So like I trip up over my teeth. I always say like I have big teeth, guys. I trip over it. So whatever, I'm just like tripping over myself. So we're gonna get into some closing notes of this. So can you let everybody know on the stream how to find you?
Yes. Speaking of observing now. So I'm on Twitter at Danielle MCVO. I also have a Twitch page that I've been abandoning for months. And I should get back into doing that. I've been streaming a lot of games on there in the past, like Overwatch and stuff. But my Twitch is at Danielle McRae 1. And my website is at daniellemcraevo.com. But for right now, that site's kind of going under some renovations. So that's there. But yeah, that's me.
Perfect. Yeah. So as you see in the Twitch stream, like there is tons and tons of links of how to get a hold of Danielle. She's very friendly, as you guys can tell. And so if you guys want to hit her up or give her a follow, yeah, hit up her Twitch, hit up her Twitter. After she gets some renovations done with her website, go ahead and check out that website so you can see her whole history of voice acting. So please, please, please. I want to just say thanks again to MAGWest for letting us have this Q&A session and also hosting Danielle for this year's MAGWest. Again, this is our first virtual event and I'm glad it's going super swimmingly. So thank you, Danielle, for joining us this year.
Thank you for having me, and thank you, MAGWest, for having me along and having us do this together. This was so much fun. Perfect.
Thank you so much. Again, this is Danielle McRae. My name is Sometimes V, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Bye.